Kid knows something's up when we ain't there to give a warm welcome. See, Zolf and I were just wrapping up a heated discussion. Zolf can barely muster the words. The calamity failed, he says, but I will not. And with that, Zolf leaves us here, alone. Zolf cursed the city, cursed the Bastion, cursed me, said he was going home. When Zolf got through reading that journal, he just snapped, started smashing up the monument till I tried to stop him. Takes a lot of moving pieces to make a dependable sidearm. Zolf banged up the monument pretty bad. But there's a way to put her back together. The shards. We're gonna need all of them to nurse the Bastion back to health. The city brought the shards to the wilds. Now the kid's gonna bring them back. The less said about Drawson Bog, the better. That place will eat your mind. After Zolf's little episode, Kid sets off in search of shards. First stop, Drawson Bog. You'll get lost in that bog, I told the kid, and I won't be able to guide you back. Well, I let him go. What else could I do? What could any of us do? Zolf put us in a real bind. Hurt the Bastion bad. But the shards can make it better. They're like smaller doses of the core's medicine. Shame the only place to fill that prescription is out here in the wilds. This place is intoxicating. Don't know where he's gone. Might be gone for good for all I know. Wherever he is, Somewhere I've never been. Somewhere I never want to go. The dead welcome him with open arms. Kid pops him good. That a survivor? No, ma'am. It's a lonesome ghost of a gas fella. What do you say to a kid who's seen too much? I'm Zolf of Liura. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Now the kid sees something stranger still. Did anybody else survive? Sure enough, he finds peckers, lunkheads, wallflowers, pincushions, vine apples, swamp weeds, ankle gators. Now the Bastion can send him even farther, into the wild unknown. Kid sets foot inside one of Ceylondia's famous watering holes. The security's just gonna have to straighten him out. He has the nerve to flash the shield he stole. He's a petty thief. Kid succeeds where the calamity failed. Would you look at what he did to poor old Rondi the bartender? Proper story's supposed to start at the beginning. It's so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world's alright, snoozing there on a rock in the sky. He wakes up. I'm just fooling. He sees what's left of the rippling walls. Years of work undone in an instant. He sees what's left of Pith, the bull. The gods, they're all undone. He sees what's left of his lifelong friend. His friend, he's come undone too. He sees what's left undone. Thought we'd lost him, but he finally comes to. The shard ain't lost either. Not anymore. Now to find a ticket out of this hole. Bootlickers dig their nasty thorns into his heels. Ever heard of a lung blossom? It's bigger than the stories say. The breath on that thing, like a scumbag sprung a leak. They say one whiff of lung blossom can make you lose your mind. Well, a kid prunes it down to size somehow. Mother only knows what happened in the bog. Kid never much cared to speak of it. A shard is like a poor man's core, but beggars can't be choosers. That's it. A few more shards like that, and we'll be back in business. A single shard can breathe new life into this place. He ain't all that shy. What else is there to say? The shard's got enough juice to spruce up any of these places. If you're feeling low, count on the buttery flavor of our own Bastion bourbon. breakers. Ain't no one can outrun them. Or their arrows. Finders keepers. Ain't never letting go of his old friend with a sturdy grip like that. The city tried to use the shards to stake out the wilds. So much for that plan. Rothes Lagoon. Even the brushers stopped going there. Didn't like being eaten. Ankle gators used to roam the wilds, and they nested at Rothes Lagoon. Many a tale folks used to scare their children straight originated here. All kinds of beasts what don't know up from down, still lurking about. Only the city's brushers knew their way around the lagoon. They moved quick and quiet. These beasts, they don't like company. Even the brushers learned to fear this place. They used to think that ankle gators were extinct. Well, they ain't. One of them's been living in the tall grass. They called her Queen Anne. Turns out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard. Ankle gators love shiny things. Know what smells worse than an ankle gator's breath? The stinkweed. Ain't time for pecker hunting, but the kid can't resist. Can't fight Queen Anne without the proper tools. Bad idea to walk in gator grass. The brushers use their pikes to keep their distance around here. Now the kid can do the same. Sharp sticks make Queen Anne nervous, so she backs off a bit. Those pin cushions been living off the ankle gator's scraps. Queen Anne can't fit down some of these narrow paths. Queenie leads the kid into some kind of twisted trap. One bad step in that tall grass and he's Queen Anne's lunch. Still no sign of the shard. The closer you get to an ankle gator's lair, the thicker the tall grass grows. Kid's gotta make a run for it. That old gator's right on his tail. They say you can't hurt an ankle gator unless it's raining. And it ain't raining. Queenie must have scared a bunch of peckers out of hiding. Seems even stinkweeds know to stay away from the queen. Ankle gators don't much care for their young. That's why there ain't many around. Wanna know how to find an ankle gator lair? You use a kid as bait. Now she's coming for him. She's got nowhere else to go. They say if you run across an ankle gator, you better keep running. The shard's sitting in plain view. She's starting to get annoyed. And now he's made her mad. After all that, Kid lets the ankle gator go. Hope Queen Anne don't mind us borrowing from her treasury. That gator's a crazy gal, but so's the gal who promised to look after her. They said Queen Anne was just a folktale. Now there's living proof she ain't. Kid don't always care for fancy guns and things. A bow and pike will do just fine. That ought to make those fangs sink in nice and deep. All that trouble for a single shard. But you know what? It was worth it. We need an awful big lost and found under the circumstances. The next shard should be farther out there in the wilds. Point Lemaine's Grand Rail once brought the riches of the wild right to our doorstep. Know how Caelandia became the richest city in the world? 2 words. Point Lemaine. If the wild could ever be tamed, it was gonna happen right here. But now, the greatest outpost past the city line is nothing but a freak show. The army's triggers once had the place on lockdown. Kid might as well pick up where they left off. Blam! Just like my fighting days. Gun like that can even put the wilds in check. Point Lemaine seen better days for sure, but it ain't done. whole place shudders in a fit. The grand rail of Point Lemaine, not only is it still there, it still works. Of course, it's no longer shipping hides and alloys and spices, but it can give the kid a lift. Just as long as he can stay clear of the trouble on the tracks. Grand rail's all grown over with things the Calamity chewed up and spat out. Things eager to take back their turf. Kid lets a few of them slip by. Lunkheads settled in like they own the place. Not much wiggle room up there near the rail. Takes fancy footwork on the rail, what with wallflowers, coughing fungus everywhere. Only one way to cure a cough like that. Zealandia lost many good men on the rail. Of course, the Grand Rails seem much more fighting in bygone times. Near on 50 years ago, first shots fired in the Ura-Celandian War. It was right here that Zulf's Ura forefathers decided to mix it up. Okay, so maybe we didn't get their sign-off on the whole Grand Rail thing. That was bad. The rail must have shook the Ura to the bone down in those dens of theirs. rail won't last much longer now that the kid took the shard. It's still got one good run in store for him, though. All the rotten wood there on the rails turned it into swamp weed central. Ever tried dancing side to side while holding your breath? While choking on swamp weed? While peckers trying to prick you in the eye? Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun. But then, at last, it's the end of the line. He'll be picking swamp weed out of those boots for days. Turns out he's got company up at the rail station, waiting for him. Not just another wallflower or pincushion, mind you. At first, he thinks it's Zulf. Turns out he's wrong. This is for you, says the man. Then wham. When the kid comes to, the man's long gone, but something else is there. Well, what's a kid to do? He took the shard, he took the hit, and he took that note. That note cuts straight to the heart of things, don't it? Finding gourmet ingredients ain't easy these days, but we'll take what we can get. The note says it plain. Zia, go east to learn the truth about the calamity and our people. I'll be waiting. Sincerely, Zulf. Zulf's messenger was one of his people. Wonder just how many of them survived, and what exactly Zulf told him. That's the way to make every shot count. It ain't too late to unlock the potential of this place. The arsenal's complete, in case we need protection. The shards are getting harder to find. No risk of Culford Cauldron ever erupting again, they used to say. Guess they were wrong. Not everything blew up in the calamity. Why, Culford Cauldron here blew up way ahead of its time. The cauldron boiled over some 300 years ago. They say it filled the skies with ash and the lakes with molten rock. If you wanted to survive something like that, you had to learn to adapt. Best to keep out of the cauldron. It takes a certain stubborn pride to keep on living in a place like this. As for us, we learned an awful lot from Culford Cauldron. That learning led to some interesting inventions. The raw power of the world fell right into our hands. Playing with the cauldron's fires became an addiction. Can't fault our people for their natural curiosity now, can you? Sure, we dusted off a good many secrets out here. But we discovered other things we're better off not knowing. The unforgiving scent of sulfurous dirt. Taste the air so hot it sticks to your lungs. All sorts of awful things crawling underfoot. Never thought we'd find so much life in all that ash. We kept on sifting through the cauldron's secrets anyway. The more ash we swept aside, the more life we found. Place as inhospitable as they come. But still we pressed on. After all, when we looked down inside Colford Cauldron, looked down through all the smoke and flames, we saw in there the heart of the world. The heart now laid bare by the calamity. We had to have it. As for the kid, he just has to get that shard out of there. Too bad taking that thing woke up every last stink eye from here to Jocelyn Bog. Kid's thinking he's got to trek all the way back around the cauldron. Luckily, the cauldron cooked up a little shortcut for him. Sure, it ain't the most convenient path. Biggest stink eye he's ever seen's waiting for him on the other side. Well, it ain't polite to stare. And where there's one stink eye, there's always more. The cauldron's tenants all gather up to bid the kid a fond farewell. Kid don't shed any tears for him though. With a good spyglass, you can still see the cauldron from the city. But all the fires died out. There's nothing left of it.
Listen to the Game est un podcast produit par Podcut. Vous pouvez retrouver l'ensemble des podcasts du label sur podcut.studio. Et si vous avez l'âme et le porte-monnaie d'un mécène, un Patreon est aussi là pour les soutenir. Vous pouvez aussi retrouver le podcast sur Twitter @LTTG podcast ou sur Facebook. Je rappelle qu'une présentation globale du concept est disponible en épisode 0. Merci de votre écoute et à très vite.